My name is Jeff Klaus. I'm responsible for global strategy for our ISV customers. I'm based in Boston. I've been at AWS just over 4 years. My history's been in software, and my team put this together, and I'm very happy to continue and show you what we can do to help you. So this is an opportunity for international ISVs. We're going to continue to help customers with growth paths. And as we do that, the landscape, as we've heard at this session, is continually discussed, discussion around AI and how we continue to look at that as an opportunity to continue our growth path. And when we look at that, we not only look at it from a product perspective, but we're also looking at what areas, what regions, what customer types are we considering with that. Because we have a number of legacy customers or continued SaaS customers that are looking at AI projects that they can pigeon into a new region specifically to test. It might give them a great opportunity to look at AI in that type of respect. We are continuing to grow as well. We opened 5 new regions in 2025. We're going to continue that growth with some regions that are new that are projected in 2026. And the one that I want to talk to you about that's gotten a lot of attention is really the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So KSA for short. We have detailed demographic information and data behind the reason why we're going there. That information is also available to you as a customer that would consider entry in this region. And that is an area that we continue to invest in, and we'll show you the portfolio that you can consider when you hear this presentation if you want to consider that potential journey. But we know this is not easy. We know that there are risks. There's an investment on the customer's part to consider this type of movement. There's certainly a competitive landscape. You're not going to be the only one when you land that has the product that you offer. There may be some differentiating advantages, but you are going into an area that you might not be, you're unlikely to be the first. Certainly the local technology advancement might be different. There's different client demands, different client expectations. And then the other one that's really complex is the regulatory environment. And how does that get transferred? How do you manage that as a part of your operations? So with that background, I just had customers asking me about this for at least a year. I said, we've got to do better at this. We've got to be able to put something together that can continue to answer the questions and the objections that we get from customers about navigating this type of path. And Global Passport was the name of the solution. That's the umbrella that will be guiding this conversation, but all the components of that will be within this talk. So this is a program that's essentially a one-on-one program where we come to you and we essentially give you this advice from the deep plumbing of AWS. reInvent gives you a little idea of how vast the scale is of AWS resources. Part of the challenge there is finding those experts who can address those areas that I mentioned before that are major challenges. So that's the objective that we're going to review. And we've done this for just over a year. We're still only at about 400 customers. Out of the thousands of customers that we have, there are some criteria that we'll go through in order to get into this program. But we're not only, we're really looking at those kind of next wave of growth opportunities here in order to help with that trajectory into a new region specifically. This is probably the proudest slide that I have on here from my team, is that the customers that are in this program that are working through Passport are growing at twice the rate of customers that are not in it. Now you could say, hey, those are customers that are looking to grow. Yes, they are, but we're facilitating, accelerating, we're putting fuel on the fire and helping to smooth the ROI to make it as fast as possible. And guess what? Those account teams are telling their peers are telling the other individuals that they work with, and it's continuing to work out. So what is it? Passport is essentially 4 different pillars that are designed to address those needs that I mentioned at the beginning. The first part is strategic planning. We're going to go through each of these in a little more detail. The next one is technical readiness. We have some senior people that have done this before with customers that are in 25 plus regions. We want to make sure that we avoid any future mistakes, and you can learn from their experiences. And then we have a regulatory compliance element. And then we also want to make sure that when you land, like, wouldn't it be nice for you to have some pavement path paved there to be ready for go-to-market and understand the environment when you're landing. So the first piece is strategic planning. We have 3 wonderful partners that we work with. Think and Grow does the bulk of these sessions. They're the OG of partners that we've worked with here. And we had a relationship with Think and Grow prior to this because they help our customers with growth opportunities. And we've also been using ThoughtWorks for some technical deep dive challenges with customers. And then we have EDT for public sector specifically. And what we want to get out of this is really to package a plan for customers to have a strategy to put together. Because there were times when I was asking a customer, why did you just launch in the UAE? The response I got was, well, we got one customer that said they want our product there, and my brother-in-law happens to live there. So it's pretty easy for me to go make that work. That's not a strategy for deep engagement in a new region. So Think and Grow is made up of really mature, some senior operators that have experience at taking startups into new regions. And each of these partners have different skills that can help you to pave and build a strategy. Then what happens is that strategy gets components that are listed here. You can talk about any one of these components, and then you can add on some additional items if you like what you see. You can even have them help you with first hires in a new region. You can have them help you with deeper go-to-market data. But the program components are really just kind of understanding the market fit, how you go to market, are you channel, are you direct, what's your pricing strategy, all these considerations. Now, we've had some very senior customers that are, some of our largest customers come and say, hey, you know what, we want you to evaluate our existing strategy for this next set of regions that we want to go in. So don't think that this is just for customers that are emerging or just starting out in this path. We've had some other senior groups come and want us to evaluate what they're currently doing. So after that session, it's about a 2.5-hour session that we spend time with initially. There will be a report out that takes approximately 2 weeks, and that report is something that summarizes the observations that were provided during the workshop. It also gives you a set of recommendations and kind of a playbook for that next region, but it's also the next region, something that you can use as a template and evaluate for future engagements and give you that type of confidence that you've got a third party that's taking a look at this and giving you some advice. We've had customers bring that to their board. We've had customers use this internally and say, we're not saying this, like this team is also saying. So there's definitely some advantages to the report outs and the guide for understanding how this would work. All right, the next pillar is really about technical readiness. We don't want there to be any surprises. Do you know that our regions, we price our products differently, we price our services differently? We don't have every service in every region. We have some senior SAs, as I mentioned, that have gone through this journey with a number of customers, and they come in and spend an hour with you to ensure that there are some best practices that are transferred. Think of this as kind of a well-architected review for new region expansion, just to ensure that your footprint is as tight and as modernized as possible before we start replicating it multiple times. Let's get the cost down as much as we can before we have to overcome those cold start costs to achieve a fast ROI. There's also security considerations, performance enhancements. So this is a session where the senior SA will go through and talk about the opportunities in this domain. So we want to make sure you get the right servers in that environment that you typically use. We want to make sure that the services and the features of those services are available in that region as well. So that is the the goal of the technical readiness session. The outputs are essentially to make sure that you are aware of what's happening, and we'll go deeper into that by bringing up a customer, so you don't have to hear it from me. We'll bring up a customer that's gone through this, and I'm going to bring up Paul Peterson, who's the regional offering manager for Click, and Click's had a great growth experience. I want to have him talk about his experience with Passport.
Thank you. So just a little bit about Click. So Click's been around for quite a long time. We've got something like 40,000 customers globally. A number of product items in our portfolio, both client managed and SaaS infrastructure. Gartner Magic Quadrant leader in a number of areas. And we're looking to, over the last kind of 5 years, I guess, I've been with Click for almost 7 years, like everybody, moving to cloud, right? Moving to SaaS. So as we move our portfolio to the cloud, we are having to address our customers' data sovereignty, residency, regulatory requirements, just as Jeff was highlighting, right? We have hit all of those in spades, if you will, on how do we look to expand and bring our customers onto our SaaS environment. So a little bit about what we do. Our main platform, unlike our competitors, we have a comprehensive unified platform where we provide everything from analytics to AI to data management, integration, so on and so forth on our overall solution. From our expansion strategy, this year in 2025, we've added 5 new regions on top. I think we're now over between 10 and 15 globally. We've done the UAE, Israel, Brazil, and France this year, as well as expanding our U.S. government footprint with a new DoD region. And in support of that, we had a kind of a base footprint, if you will, for each of our regions. We were trying to reduce the cost on that environment. Jeff had highlighted a couple things like the cold start, ramping up our customers, those types of things, as well as optimizing the existing footprint that we have out there. So we had a number of things that we had in a backlog that we were looking to work our way through already, but being part of the program and working with Jeff's team, we had a number of, I think 3 kind of primary items that came out of the hopper, if you will, on that front, that's helping us reduce the costs of our overall infrastructure. So the first one was to move to Carpenter. This allowed us to adjust our auto-scaling infrastructure to make it a little bit more flexible on what we are able to deploy. Gave us a little bit more options from the instance type expansion that we were able to do, ability to take lowest cost compute within that environment as well, and improved our ability to scale up and scale down based on our workloads and the ramp period for that. So you can see here, as we look to deploy the Carpenter implementation, we're looking some pretty significant numbers, right? Saving upwards of $150,000 a month after we deployed this into our global infrastructure across those regions at that time. The second thing we did was to move to partial deployments. We had a standard footprint that we started with where we wanted to be able to handle up to 2,000 tenants in the infrastructure, and that was a pretty hefty footprint to start with. We didn't come out of the gate with customers like that. That's a ramp. To get to 2,000 is a decent ramp period. So this allowed us to reduce the cost footprint by deploying a partial footprint, if you will. And we have a couple of really high cost items that are in there. One thing we call our one app per engine implementation. This is for customers who have really heavy duty analytics workloads. They're really large instances, so this gave us the ability to kind of shut those off and save a lot on the compute side on that front. So that was good. Another aspect here was around capacity flags as part of that deployment as well. And this, again, allowed us to save a pretty decent chunk of money monthly on those deployments. The third one, which was a little bit counterintuitive, but we adjusted the chipset, right? We moved to AMD from Intel. That saved a fair fair bit of money on that front as well, approximately $100,000 a month overall across all of those regions on that front. The outcome, obviously we were looking for cost savings on that front, and you can see a big difference here between our German region that we rolled out in 2023 versus the UAE one that we rolled out in April of this year, and overall $40K a month cost differential on that front. Lower, and that ultimately that is helping me as I look at additional regional expansion, right? Lowering those costs gets us more opportunity to either invest in other things in the portfolio, or in our case, we're looking to expand further in 2026. We've already announced that we're going to go into Canada in the first half of next year, and tomorrow we'll be announcing that we're part of the European Sovereign Cloud Launch Partner Program as well. So, it's giving us the opportunity to continue to expand and grow by leveraging the program. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
So there's a great example of how we take practical examples from past companies that have done something like this and see if that applies to a company that wants to go on this journey as well. And meaningful reductions in cost. At the same time, we're also trying to grow revenue. So you see there's a great opportunity there. The next pillar that I want to talk about is regarding regulatory compliance. So in this area, it's really just about understanding and ensuring that the passport that you have and the visa that you have is appropriate when you go to that new region. There are a number of different compliance standards. It also gets deeper if you're in the medical field or in the financial field. So you might not be aware that AWS has ex-regulators, ex-auditors that work for AWS. They're in a group that essentially is designed to help you to overcome and to navigate these types of potholes, to ensure that you're aware. And they're very familiar with AWS services, so they're intertwined with understanding the requirement and how you can overcome that with the service. So these individuals will come in, like I said, the workshop. You've got the strategy piece. You just went through the technical part. We'll bring that technical person in. We're not going to have you go around. All those individuals and experts come to you with this bespoke program. And then the regulatory individuals, they also come in and they give you their perspective. Where do you want to go? Here's what to look out for. We also have tools to ensure that you can pass regular audits in this regard as well. So that is the third pillar, and a pretty large piece as well that we want to remove. The next piece is around go-to-market. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to be confident when you land in a new arena what that will look like? And I often equate this to, I think most of us have been into a new airport for the first time. You've been to that new airport, you're tired, you might be jet lagged, you picked up your bags, you go out through customs, and then you're in this sea of people, and you have no idea where to go. Maybe there's a foreign language, you can't even read the signs. You're trying to find the taxi, you're trying to find, the shuttle. Where do you go? In the distance, you've got this little sign, it's got your name on it in the distance. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. That person's gonna show me where to go. I pre-booked that person to help me. That's what this is. When you land in Saudi Arabia and you want to work with a local partner there, guess what? That partner is someone you can trust, someone that knows the landscape, they know the customers and the partners. So we want to set you up with people that know that landscape. It's strange, when I come here, I always feel like somebody wants to sell me something, whether it's here in the taxi or going anywhere. And it's hard to trust them, right? So you need to work with people you trust, and that's what this is. The partner program has a wealth of capabilities that can offer you through Marketplace or the partner network, and these individuals understand how to navigate that. So they use this matrix of different co-sell activities in order to help educate the AWS team, the local team, on your solution, and kind of build some momentum and some discipline from how the best companies operate, because they've operated and they've seen how those companies work. So it's things like CRM integration, scalable motions around co-sell, and I'm going to let some of them speak to you about this. So what we've done so far is that we've pieced together some partners in different regions that can help you. They know the landscape, and as a part of the program, we help pave that first instance. We pay for the use and utilization of those individuals in order to get that first set of opportunities under the covers. Now, the other exceptional data point here is that Passport Catalyst customers, because we call this final pillar Passport Catalyst, those customers are growing 65% faster than the regular Passport customers. So you've got people that are not in Passport, and then you've got double the growth for Passport, and then you've got 65% higher for people that are in Catalyst. So you see there's momentum here and what we're trying to build, and that's the value of where we're taking this. So I'm going to have some partners come and talk to you about what they do, how they operate with their customers, and give you some specific customer examples. The first is Symbio. So I want to bring up Justin, and then he'll bring up Francesca, and he'll talk to you about his experience with the program.
Thank you, Jeff. Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Justin Eddy. I'm the founder of Symbio. It's good to have you here. Symbio is a cloud go-to-market agency. So we specialize in AWS co-sell and co-marketing services. And our goal, as Jeff mentioned, is to accelerate that journey to co-sell revenue with AWS. So what we do is we bring together 3 services within the Passport Catalyst program. And those 3 services are here on the slide, partner marketing services. So starting with that, we focus on your joint messaging and positioning with AWS. How can we clearly articulate that better together narrative to the AWS customer, to the AWS ecosystem, so that we know you're landing that message with maximum impact? And then build the content and the campaigns to tell that story and drive awareness. The second is the co-sell enablement services. This is really driving that message to the AWS sellers, as well as to the partner sellers, to help them work effectively with AWS sellers in co-sell, help them to understand the best practices and have the materials and toolkits to drive co-sell opportunities and joint sales engagements. And the third is the fractional partner staffing. And so our team provides AWS-enabled PDMs who can navigate the AWS programs and the variety of resources to help partners to unlock and qualify for these go-to-market benefits within the program. And we provide co-sell specialists who help to execute on joint sales engagements and to enable best practices for working with AWS on specific opportunities and expanding those. All 3 of these kind of come together in the Catalyst program to enable this virtuous cycle, which you see here. Starting with kind of partner-led co-marketing, driving the content and the messaging to drive lead acquisition and pipeline generation. That really opens the door to connecting with AWS sellers. Once you're working with AWS sellers, you build those relationships and the trust, opportunity by opportunity, seller by seller. You can expand that relationship through these best practices to other accounts, their peers, other sellers, into broader sales enablement and identification of other accounts and opportunities that you can work on and then repeat this cycle. So all 3 of these services come together to enable that virtuous flywheel effect of co-selling with AWS. So we have a great example of this today. I'm excited to have Darktrace, our mutual customer, here to talk about a real world story about this. So I would love to introduce Francesca Bowen, a VP of Alliances, Strategic Alliances at Darktrace.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Jeff. Well, it's lovely to see everyone, and I'm really privileged to be part of this conversation because we've had an awesome experience with Passport. Actually, firstly with Think and Grow at the very beginning, and then with Symbio when we really looked to kind of expand. So show of hands, who is not familiar with Darktrace? Okay, only a few. Well, that's good because I love to just give a bit of a background on the story and the history because it's a really interesting organization. Darktrace was the first to apply AI to the challenge of cybersecurity back in 2013. This is before the big rage of AI and certainly before we were talking about AI and cybersecurity. And so what we do is we learn the behaviors of individual customers. And we are able to, in real time, to detect and respond against never before seen threats. That's really, really helpful for our 10,000 plus customers, but particularly in regulated industries like manufacturing, which is what we'll talk about today. So yeah, we'll do $1 billion in ARR this next year. We were listed on the London Stock Exchange. We've now been bought out by Thoma Bravo, a big PE firm in the US. And it's been an incredible journey with AWS. I'd love to just talk about the Passport program. So just again, show of the hands, who is interested in Passport, who's part of it today? Okay, so it might be early days for some of you. So what I would say about Passport is the secret to success is going to be intentionality, right? You've got to be really intentional with what you want to get out of this program. And so let's think about the challenge for Dartris at the time. As you can hear, we're a British-born organization. And so we are managed by AWS out of the UK, which is awesome. That's where our dev is. But ultimately, it means that all of our resources is in the UK and EMEA from AWS. And so just naturally, naturally alongside John here, who runs our alliances in EMEA, we grew very quickly in that region, but less so in the US, which again, for our business in general, didn't make much sense because ultimately we do more of our revenue out of the Americas. So we wanted to elevate the AWS partnership, specifically in North America, and we wanted to mature that co-sell mechanism that can be so awesome, between our sellers. So what do we do and how do we do it? So ultimately, the Passport Catalyst funded, as Jess said, the ability to work with an organization like Symbio. And that was really awesome because what happened was that we were assigned a PDM, so a partner development manager, with that AWS-specific skill set. And they really, Maria, extended our alliances team and really helped us to nail down the better together messaging. That is the most important thing when you're going to market with AWS. So we think about back to the objective. Ultimately, we were trying to mature our co-sell efforts. And so our customer in this is the AWS seller, right? So we need to think about how, in manufacturing, we decided to choose that industry because it's less saturated against things like financial services. How are we going to help the seller sell more AWS or reduce friction to sale, ultimately leading to more revenue? And again, for Dartris, what we do is we secure organizations, particularly in regulated industries, across their entire digital estate. So if you think about manufacturing, there's a lot of legacy operational technology, IT, and they want to gain the efficiencies and benefits from cloud, but can be slower on the uptake because of that security challenge. And so this is where Dartris can come in, right? So we make a great partner to the AWS seller to really help drive additional revenue and help the customer transform towards AWS cloud. So with that story, Symbio built this brilliant to AWS and through AWS assets that we still use today, even after the campaign. They're absolutely fantastic. And then ultimately, we package it up to create a very targeted marketing campaign into medium, large-size manufacturing companies in the US. So what were the results? They're pretty good. I was pretty happy. So, the numbers speak for themselves, but I think what I'd like to highlight is three things that got me really excited. The first one was access into organizations that we'd never engaged with before. In fact, we had meaningful engagement with 10 of the top 50 manufacturing companies in America that we had never meaningfully engaged with. That's a really big deal. Right. The next thing is procurement. So I didn't mention, but of course we're on AWS Marketplace, right? And so really interestingly, we did some, pretty sizable deals with manufacturing organizations on Marketplace. And, one memory that I have is an organization that would have typically taken 3 months to procure. But again, with Marketplace, we were able to do that in under a month. And that was a very sizable deal. So we love that. And then the final one is that number 49. So as sales and partner leaders in the room, I think, we can all build the best possible programs, but at the end of the day, it's really about our seller engagement between AWS and Darktrace. So we've got 200 plus reps trained on the Darktrace side, which is awesome, but 49 manufacturing sellers at AWS are thinking about Darktrace and thinking about how we can help them sell more of what they want to. So for me, that was probably the most exciting thing. Jeff, thank you so much.
Super, thank you. All right. Awesome, thanks, Francesca. Yes, great example of how this can work. And I think the beauty of this is that you're really focused on, Symbio can help focus on the process. Like, here are the results, but the process there is about building the maturity, the muscle memory of what does it take to get these types of results. And if you can keep doing that going forward, that gift is going to keep on giving. So it's a fantastic result there. So I also want to talk a little bit about where this is a global program. We are testing some partners in APJ. We don't have that fully baked and ready to offer. We obviously are showcasing here that we have North America. I'm going to bring up our partner that we use in EMEA. And then we're also working with a partner in the Middle East. And then APJ is kind of in progress at the moment. But a lot of interest there as well. So what I'm going to do next is talk about Connect and their story, bring up Jonathan, and then he's going to bring up Max to talk about his specific example of their working relationship. Okay?
First of all, Jeff, thank you for inviting us and being such a great sponsor. And thank you everyone for attending. My name is Jonathan. I'm COO and co-founder at Connect. A bit about our story. 7 years ago, I was working for one of the biggest ISVs in Israel, a lot of hype around it. And following an investment by a cloud provider that we won't mention its name here, we were tasked to, together with Yuval, my partner, we were tasked to build Cloud Alliance. We didn't know what exactly it is, what it means, how the impact looks like, but we understood that there is a lot of potential in the scope, so we needed to double down on it and really understand what it is. So this is how Connect was born. And what we do at Connect, we support ISVs at all maturity levels, build their business partnership with AWS, from early stage partners that need their foundation built, from the basic programs, ISV Accelerate, Marketplace, and so on, to Better Together story narrative, and the executive alignment to much more advanced partners that requires deeper differentiation, business development, global business development, and co-sell at scale. Since we established the company, we served more than 200 ISVs. We're based out of Israel and the UK, and alongside the professional service that really provide 360 for all Cloud Alliance requirements, we develop our own proprietary go-to-market platform called Flow, that besides connecting and operationalizing all the systems, also provide a data layer and insights layer to actually take the best practice that we developed internally and expose them to our users. Regarding our partnership with AWS, so it's really growing rapidly. We are in multiple programs, but of course the most important one is Catalyst. We are in the third wave of Catalyst, served more than 35 ISVs generated significant revenue and a significant pipeline. I think that one of the most important things that we provide as part of the program is not only the fish, but we teach the ISVs how to fish. If there is a problem or something that doesn't work, we dive deep and find the source to enable them to afterwards either do it with us after the program or do it independently. I want to call to the stage Max, Senior Director of Global Partnership at Riskified, to give his point of view on that.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Jeff, for inviting me to come here and share the story of Riskified with both Connect and AWS. And I'll try and do that in the next 5 or so minutes as well. I wish I was part of this session before, a year ago, and we're looking into starting the partnership with AWS. But I'm happy I'm here now, and it's very interesting to see the perspective of some of my peers as well. So for some context, Riskified is in the fraud prevention space of e-commerce. So essentially, we work with the world's largest retailers in helping them approve more transactions in a safe manner and prevent fraud in real time. So we sit at the checkout and we help them assess the risk of those transactions. And the interesting piece here is that everything we've built as a company, right, since the foundation is on top of AWS. So all our data is stored in AWS. We utilize a lot of the microservices and security mechanisms of AWS. And so this question of whether or not we should expand the relationship with AWS is not necessarily new to Riskified. But some of the two biggest challenges I think we had when we looked at this was the first one is we are targeting very large retailers. And we were skeptical about those types of companies buying multi-million-dollar software or services through the marketplace, right? We didn't think that was a thing. Riskified has very long sales cycles, very complex, high touch, and we thought that someone wouldn't do that through this channel. We were wrong. And the second thing was just that we didn't know enough about how to get set up and where to start, right? And I think this is kind of the theme that we've been hearing across the board as well. And the advice we received was you should work with an external company that is specialized in doing this, right? That is taking potential ISVs like yourselves and bringing them to the marketplace, and they will know what to do. If you committed the same mistake that I did in the past of trying to figure this out yourself and read through the documentation, you probably got lost or thought this was too complex and overwhelming. Honestly, it probably is, but there is a strategy to it, right? There's a way of doing it in a smart way and doing the things that matter first and then expanding from there. So we worked with Connect to try and understand and kind of bridge those two gaps and concerns that we had. And from the first conversation we had with them, right? Number one is we again understood that we were wrong and multi-million-dollar contracts were being signed through the marketplace, and large retailers were utilizing that as a channel. So that was great, right? One of our concerns is dealt with and no longer is there. The second one is Connect really helped bring a lot of clarity to the process for us. We're a small team, and we're doing what we're doing in a very successfully. And so we needed to make sure that if we're putting resources and time away from what we've been doing, that it will be the right call. So they explained to us, right, all the key milestones and things that we have to do first in order to get the flywheel effect of the marketplace and AWS as an ecosystem. And so that's what we set out to do. And also, luckily, we had the support from the program that Connect had with AWS and Catalyst, right, in helping fund for that. So again, everything we were worried about was no longer a big deal for us, and this was being funded as well. So we had nothing to lose but to try and make this work. So when we started working with Connect, we put together very specific deliverables that we would be working on a time frame of 4 to 6 months. And that was also very specific in terms of what Connect would handle for us versus what would be required from Riskified's team, whether we're just supporting with information or we had to be hands-on part of the process. Just a few weeks later, right, we had our technical review done. We were listed officially on the marketplace, and that was great news for us. But we're just starting that process. We didn't have a lot of go-to-market motion. Shortly after that, right, we finally got our competency approved in retail. Obviously, that's the biggest industry for someone like Riskified. And from there, things started to catch up and it started to get interesting, right? We were done with all the very important, but a little bit more bureaucratic and technical steps that we had to accomplish. And we did so in probably around a month and a half. And we would never have been able to do that ourselves. Then from there, we started to participate in multiple programs, right, that helped us collect additional funding. Our CMO was out very happy with the amount of MDF that we were getting as well, and became an ISVA very shortly during that period. And once we became an ISVA, ISV Accelerate, right, that's when you have access to start co-selling with AWS, and you have access to the sales teams. And here, I heard the word being intentional, and I completely agree with what you said. That's the approach that we took as well, in making sure that when we're pumping the opportunities through ACE, right, that we're looking for connecting or speaking or engaging with the sales teams, we were very intentional, meaning we only submitted opportunities that were real, opportunities that we had context, background, and we had something to share. We're not just trying to be overly optimistic and do a moonshot through that. And so when we spoke with those teams at AWS, they clearly understood that we had some footprint. Some of those opportunities were existing clients of ours that were just looking to extend the contract or do an upsell or a cross-sell. And so that led to them wanting to speak with us again, right? Again, same theme here. They understood how Riskified's deal could help them upsell their AWS services too. And so our information was valuable to them. And just to close off here with some of the high-level results, right? This has been 12 months or nearly 12 months now that we finally decided to start this process. We have a pipeline of close to $40 million. We closed about 3 to 4 deals already this year, which is a huge win. Again, our deals are in nature large in size. And we've accomplished much more than what we thought that we would be able to do, and we have a lot more to do now next year. So in 12 months, AWS became a hyper-growth engine for Riskified that we're super excited to double down next year. Thank you very much. Jeff, awesome. Back to you.
Ooh, gosh. Yeah, that's a great example. When you talk about anybody who knows navigating FTR and navigating ISVA and what you need to do to reach ISVA, to do that in around 2 months is phenomenal. That is great testimonial to how this can accelerate. And originally, we were taking customers that were only ISVA, and we're thinking, why are we doing that? Now, let's help some of the customers that have a great product, they still want to grow, they've yet to be mature in the partner motion. Let's help them get there. So we removed that requirement, and now any customer, if you're not a marketplace, you can also use this as a springboard to get there. So how does this work? We have a nomination process. You can go through your account manager. You can even just do a Google search for AWS Global Passport. It should come up. You can nominate yourself there. And then we have sessions. We've done these in 22 different cities. We try to come as close to you as possible. We've done them all over the world, and typically it's about once every month and a half. So schedule that discovery workshop. You review the action items from the report that comes from the partner. And then there's a 1-hour follow-up session to identify those next steps. Like that's the logistics of how this works as we schedule it. We do have a minimum revenue threshold. We have gone beyond ISV. We have gone to some startups that are below that threshold. If there's a great growth story, I'm a sucker for that. We'll definitely take that into consideration. We're looking at success in the home market. We certainly want executive sponsorship. The maturity stages, we've kind of changed that, but we certainly want you to be an APN and know what's expected, because it is a commitment. You do need to be prepared for that path, but as we've talked, we have individuals that can help you guide you through that path. Who do I want in these sessions when we have them? We typically say, I want the person who's responsible for the target in the new region. Who owns the number to reach that sales target in that new area? That person's going to really care about making sure that this plan is solid. And then at the other side, I want the person who pays for that cloud bill. Who's going to pay for that new region? Whose responsibility is it in their budget to have those increases in expense and take that risk? And we often see great debate happening between these people in these sessions. There's often a debate about where do we go first? We've had large customers come to us and say, can you help me force rank the next 3 areas that we want to consider growing in? Okay, we've done that. We have used partners to get data in some cases, or we've used some AWS data. What type of customer are you selling to? How can we help inform you to make a decision to break that tie if there's a challenge internally? But these are the individuals that we want in order to have that session. So this is a summary. This is what we learned today. We talked about the strategy pillar. We talked about technical readiness. We have a regulatory element as well. And then we had some great examples on go-to-market. Because initially, guess what? Go-to-market is still our biggest challenge. When you land in a new region, you can put an instance up today. You can put a new instance up. If you don't have those technical problems, you can open up and be available. But how do you generate sales and get that motion working? That's the biggest challenge, and that's why we are relying on some great partners in order to make that happen. So here's a path to the public site. If you don't have an account team covering you, this is a path to scheduling a workshop. We do have some operations people that can help. And that is how we operate. So anyway, thank you. Hope you learned something, and hopefully this is something you can take advantage of. Appreciate it.